Hey everyone, it's Michael Douglas. Welcome back to another episode of Dr. Pundit where we talk about music, not medicine. And I was tooling around in my Apple Music playlists a couple days ago, and that's my streaming service of choice. And I was going through some of my blues playlists. And this is a playlist folder that I really haven't given much thought to, probably because I don't have a huge comfort zone out of some core artists that I really listen to. Artists that were contemporaneous to me when I was, say, particularly in college or medical school. And outside of those core artists, I really have been reluctant to go outside and try to educate myself on other styles of blues as a genre. Blues is so expansive. And, you've got guitar blues, you've got traditional blues, you've got blues hybrids, soul, rock, guitar rock blues, George Harrison from the Beatles, Eric Clapton, J.J. Cale, B.B. King, traditional blues, all of these. And one day I'm going to really sit down and just basically kind of carve out some time where I can devote, say, a full week to listening to nothing but different subgenres of this massive genre of music. Going back to the original thought for this video, I wanted to talk about an artist that I'm very comfortable with and that I'm more or less familiar with his catalog because I first started listening to, blues or even looking in that direction in the mid-1980s or the late 80s when I was in college. And a lot of it has to do with this guy, Robert Cray, or the Robert Cray Band, and his album Strong Persuader. And this is when MTV started picking up on this guy. And, that's what I started listening to a lot of at that time and watching a lot of. And had it not been for that intersection there, would I have never gotten into blues? Probably not, but it would have taken many more years into the future for me to even think about giving this genre a shot. So I really wanted to talk about this album, Strong Persuader, what it really means to me, because it's much more than just a singular album in a singular subgenre, so-called electric blues underneath blues of music, but it was pretty much my gateway into blues as an overarching genre of music. And in the 1980s, the music scene is best remembered by most people as a time when synthesized sounds really ruled the roost. Radio waves and glitzy MTV videos of, hair bands and rap and hip-hop artists were all the rage and were really picking up steam toward the latter half of the decade. And in this unlikely era of tech-driven pop, because that's really what it was, Robert Cray helped rein in the appreciation of a new generation for blues. And that's what got me interested in blues as a genre of music. Some have criticized his blend of blues, soul, and rock as a homogenization of blues, of contemporary blues, but I like to think of his style as being very accessible and, for lack of a better term, the gateway for me to really appreciate blues as a genre. His Grammy-winning 1986 Strong Persuader album is credited with helping blues find a brand new audience, and it spawned the hit Smoking Gun, which was big on R&B radio at that time. It really didn't hit a lot of the pop airwaves, but it did. It made an impact, which was huge in and of itself. And it shared MTV screen time with the likes of, say, Pet Shop Boys and Aha. Now, perhaps his blend of blues that I was talking about is a result of his diverse background. Though he was born in Columbus, Georgia, he was a, quote, army brat and raised all over the country. And he started playing guitar in his early teens while living in Northern Virginia, and cites blues legend Albert Collins as a major influence. Cray also lists, of course, George Harrison and B.B. King as some of his early influence as well, because Cray was a guitarist, a blues guitarist, and those artists really provided the inspiration throughout his career. His third major release, Strong Persuader, just really remains, I think, one of his best albums. And maybe we all feel that way because it's the album that really introduced us to a whole style that we now appreciate. These songs all revolve around a common blues theme of love gone wrong. While he may not really possess the perfect voice, it really doesn't matter because, he really is a good vocalist, delivering the right emotion, whether it needs to be sincere, sarcastic, or, cynical, okay? He's really that good. And you really should listen to this album to kind of piece out those nuances. The sound of the album is crisp, simple, clean, and it's never muddied. And it's a modern electric blues for its time, contemporaneously, featuring Memphis horns, steady bass, and drums. And I feel that prowess with the guitar leaves no wasted notes when you really appreciate the arrangement of a lot of the tunes on this album. Again, critics say this album sounds relatively sanitized. I disagree, but I think the album is kind of racy. And what I mean by this is that take the song Fantasized on the album, which contains rather risque lyrics, a track that is a soft rock music track at its bed. In fact, Strong Persuader became a nickname for Cray himself due to his skills at convincing young women as portrayed in the popular song Right Next Door, Because of Me, where he brags about his conquest being, quote, just another notch in my guitar. Now, like I said, the album's opener, Smoking Gun, is his most popular song. It's the one that everybody knows, and it's got the signature kind of slow hand guitar solo in the song. The following song in the album, called I Guess I Showed Her, takes another musical direction in the album with a nice blend of actually cool, kind of smooth jazz and funk, highlighted by the brass of Wayne Jackson with some ironic and comedic lyrics. And later in the album, he settles into more traditional blues, maybe to assuage a critical onslaught he thought he would face by daring to kind of open the album with such an accessible arrangement of tunes. And as the album ends out with songs like I Wonder and New Blood, these are more traditional vocal deliveries and guitar-driven blues, I suppose. Throughout the rest of the album, the songs vary with different combinations of all three of these styles, all held together by the consistent production of the album's producers, Bruce Bromberg and Dennis Walker. And some of the highlights include the melodic track, More Than I Can Stand, and I Wonder. Check that one out because there's a unique solo technique which at one point seems to use kind of alternate tuning and at another almost sounds like a banjo. And it incorporates a lyric, is this a dream or has Bob gone crazy? So, check out that. I Wonder. Great track. And maybe I was thinking about this guy because, he is a member of the Blues Hall of Fame. And again, it's quite deserved. And another reason that I really wanted to revisit blues as a genre, to see, other artists that I know and I need to kind of avail myself of and listen and appreciate. Since Strong Persuader, Robert Cray has released at least 10 or 11 other albums, but none are as, accessible, but popular, melodic, full of variety as Strong Persuader. Deserving of its Grammy win, definitely check it out. It's an album that I first bought on CD my senior year in college, which was 1990. So again, I really didn't know about this until a bit later on and really got into it. And I could name off some other, jazz artists, I suppose, which I probably will do at a later date, but I really wanted to talk about this album and its influence on me and my introduction into blues as an overall genre. And many times the gateway for appreciation of musical styles begins with an artist who is contemporary at that time, but has a catalog going back years or even decades that if you really appreciate that artist, you can really get into, and then that'll start to obviously unlock discovery of other artists within that genre. So give it a listen. Strong Persuader, Robert Cray. I'm Michael Douglas, and if you like what you see here on the channel, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. And as the late, great Barry White always used to say, let the music play, and I'll see you on the next episode.